you can never fully feel loved. It's only when you're able to show every part, also your struggles, your negative thoughts, like your whole inner world, that you can actually feel completely loved. Listen to how you speak about yourself. Ask other people to do this also. Like every time you say I am, yeah, I am just this, I am just that. That gives you an insight in how you view yourself.
How you're communicating with your subconscious is so important.
I've gotten a lot better with my perfectionism, but this is still something I'm really learning more, because I know from experience and also from what I see in my clients that it doesn't just make your connections with the people around you deeper and better, but it also makes your like relationship with yourself and your whole life a lot better when you can do that.
Welcome. This is a conversation with Sanne Van Gurp, whose story is deeply rooted in growth, authenticity, and empowering others. I really enjoy this conversation, and this is probably one of the best episodes ever. Not only because I have got to know her better, and also that I trust that you will do so as well. And one topic particularly that we talk about, I find it fascinating, is authenticity. In this day and age with social media, and it seems like we're always putting on an armor or a mask. But vulnerability is the most important aspect, is the foundation of a healthy and harmonious relationship. I remember this quote that I heard that when a relationship doesn't go well, then nothing in life feels well. And we also talk about other topics such as veganism, finding your purpose, and why you do what you do. We shared many quotes and many laughters, so please enjoy.
Then you're not allowed to. Well, did I? I'm not sure. I think you're not allowed to do it anymore. I've never seen an adult play that.
Why? Because you hit it so hard and you hurt other people, or
I just never seen anybody else but children play that game. Do you?
no?
We did it in middle school. Me neither.
So in China we have this, not exactly dodgeball, but it's a tiny thing that being sewed, a few pieces of cloth being sewed together. Inside there used to be, we put beans and sand, maybe one thing, not all of them together. And so there's two-person on each side, and then there's a team of people in the middle. So imagine that me and you are on the side and people in the middle, and we need to hit them with that. It's not really a ball, but it's kind of like a tiny bag.
It's more painful probably than a ball. Or not.
Yeah, but it's very small. It's very, very, very small. And at the same time, that, however, in the middle, I guess it's similar to dodgeball. If you catch it, that you can get one more life, or you can revive one of your teammates. However, there's also, between the two people, there's also some moves. For example, if I say something, it's kind of like a rule. If I say something, then you catch it, then maybe you could take 3 steps to be closer, and then people in the middle cannot move.
Never heard of this game before.
That, now I should bring this out here to be one of the meetups in Barcelona. People go crazy.
It would be cool. I would be there.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think so.
especially to play on the beach, if
Yeah.
that's possible. That would be.
Also harder, probably.
That's true, because for people to run, and even for the people who are throwing to catch that, I think, yeah.
But you have to try to see, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally,
Good
totally.
idea.
I am gonna first. I will need to buy like a dozen of that when I go back to China.
Of the bags.
Of the bags, and yeah. We used to play at school. It was super fun because of just. I mean, if you're children, all you want to do, or all you're thinking about doing, is just play, right? So yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time.
You're very welcome. I'm really happy to be here.
Happy to have you here. If you don't mind, could tell us a little bit about yourself, what you're working on.
Okay. Well, my name is Sanne, and currently I'm mainly focused on my coaching and helping women with the like the struggles I've had. That is like my main focus, and also like learning to enjoy life a little bit more because I always like put a lot of pressure on myself. So actually, it really helps to be in Barcelona because there is also a lot of fun things to do. So I think that's a good thing for me.
How are you enjoying life here in Barcelona?
I love it. I really love it. I think it really makes a difference that the sun is usually shining here because I'm from the Netherlands and we're used to a lot of rain and a lot of clouds. And I just like you immediately notice a difference. Like when there's sun, you want to do stuff, you want to go out. And in the Netherlands, it's just a lot more comfortable to stay inside. Let's just say that. So I think that already helps. And I have some really nice friends here, which helps. And I have the sea, which I love. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
Are you getting a lot more tan here in Barcelona?
Tanned.
Tanned.
Well, not yet because I'm usually still wearing like long sleeve stuff. So
Right.
yeah, my skin still doesn't see a lot of sun, but
Okay.
yeah,
I mean, spring's around the corner, so that's gonna be
it will change probably.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
My roommate already gave me shit for it. She was like, "No, you should tan more. You're white.
Okay.
Yeah, you're pale."
Where's your roommate from?
She's from Switzerland, actually. Yeah,
Is she more tan?
yeah. She puts on self tan, so she actually cheats the game.
Self tan is the you go to a place and you're like baking yourself like a turkey.
No, you're like it's a foam, and you can like rub it on your skin, and then it I don't know it does like a chemical reaction with your skin, and then it turns it more tanned. I have no clue how it works, but it works.
It sounds terrible to put any. I mean, we all do that, but to put more chemical on your skin to look that brown, I guess.
I'll tell her.
Yes. Send her the link of this podcast.
Huh?
Send her the link of this podcast.
I will. I will. She's gonna feel called out probably.
Yeah. I've been told that you actually want to go to Valencia or something.
I've been there. Yeah, I've
Okay.
lived there for 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna go to Bali now after.
Nice.
Yeah, after Barcelona.
Nice.
Yeah.
Even warmer there.
Yeah, I know. I know. Actually, like I don't even mind this weather here. Like it's not 30 degrees, but I kind of like it because you can still do stuff. And I think I'm gonna have to get used to Bali weather, but I think it's worth it for like everything else.
Totally. How long are you gonna be in Bali?
I have no clue. I have no clue yet. Just gonna buy a one-way ticket and then we'll see.
Have you been?
No, no. I've been to
Okay.
Thailand some years back, but I've never been to Bali. Like Thailand was the only trip that I've ever been outside of Europe,
Okay.
which is kind of funny because I do really love traveling, so
Right.
it kind of doesn't make sense. So
Right.
I'm catching up now.
Right.
Yeah.
What are you looking to get out of the trip in Bali?
Well, actually, I'm going there because I'm dating a guy that's there now. So yeah, I'm
Nice.
gonna go there for him, kind of, and also, of course,
Nice.
for the experience.
Yeah, to serve, to see the sunsets at the
Also,
temple.
yeah,
Wild monkeys everywhere that's trying to take away your phones. And
just everything.
Yeah.
Probably food also. Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, yeah. But I think it's really nice because it gives you also a lot of freedom. I also really like exploring.
Mhm.
So I've never really felt. I didn't feel not at home in the Netherlands, but it also wasn't like I felt like I need to be here. Like this is my place. It was always just kind of like, okay, it's okay here, but I also want to see what else there is to see. So I think that kind of also drew me to Spain because it's like a little bit like in between still. You're exploring, but it's also easy to go back for like family and just practical stuff. But now I'm committing to moving further away.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah. Bali, I think the summer gonna be mindful. I mean, now it's busy all year round. I think in the summer it's the weather. I mean, for sure it's very nice, but it's gonna be a lot of people in the summer.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of people there always, I feel like.
That's true.
But yeah, I like that's also like a different kind of experience. So here there's also a lot of people, like I'm actually from a really small village, so I'm used to the opposite.
Okay.
I actually also grew up on a farm, so
Okay.
we had like a lot of space. When I went outside, like there were no people because it's just like your own land and stuff. And like it's already a big change with Barcelona because I walk out of my apartment and there's people everywhere, but I kind of like that.
Yeah.
I kind of like. I'm really glad there's also like a beach here because I do also really love nature.
Right.
But it's nice to have both. I think.
Was it like to grow up on, you said on a farm,
Yeah.
in a small town, and I guess you know everybody. What was that like?
It has its pros and cons. I think the pros were definitely we had a lot of room to play, so we would always like build tree houses and climb in trees. I have two brothers, so yeah, we do a lot of like really. I don't know what we did, but we had like bikes, and my dad had made like hills, so we could like bike over them and stuff. So that's like for sure a benefit, which I really loved. We got a lot of freedom because of that. But I think like living in a small town, I think when I was younger, it didn't really bother me that much. But I think as you grow up and maybe you start to deviate from the norm a little bit, it feels like a bit more um, like restricted, I think, because everybody knows everybody. So there's a lot of talk and stuff, which I wasn't that bothered by, but um, it's just a different type of person or a different type of people, which isn't necessarily bad, but I felt like it weren't really my people.
Mhm.
Of course, I found like a group of people there that were my friends, but I love the more openness that people seem to have in like bigger cities. So I think that was like the main con for me.
You moved away because you're not a gossip girl.
I don't like gossiping at all. No, no, I don't like that. I like. I think this also changed over time
Now you like
because
it a little bit more because you're in Barcelona.
like gossiping.
I'm joking.
Is it like a thing here to gossip?
I think it's a thing in everywhere in the world.
Hmm.
That means that this is. I read this quote earlier by this Dutch writer. He or she said, "Reality is nothing but a dream of the majority of people."
Hmm.
And in on this note about gossiping, is that just because something that a lot of people is doing it, that does not mean that that is the truth or that is something is beneficial.
I think gossiping usually also comes from when we judge stuff in ourselves. So
Mm.
I've noticed in myself, like when I had big insecurities, I was focused a lot more on other people and I judged them more. And I think I've healed a lot of my own insecurities, or like not even healed. I started to understand them and not judge them myself anymore. As a result, I don't judge them in other people also. And I actually, and people never really believe me, only people that are close to me because they know it more, but I very, very infrequently, is that a word? Feel judgment also. It's not just that I don't communicate it, I actually don't feel it. Because um, when you start understanding these things in yourself and accepting them in yourself, it also changes how you look at other people, I think. Does that make sense?
Tell me more about, you say you don't feel them.
Yeah. I don't really feel judgment. I think I'd have to start with my own journey regarding judgment towards myself. So let me just start with the theoretical framework first so we can kind of build on that. So we all have judgments towards ourselves. When we're born, we don't yet. We don't really have a self image, we just are. And at one point, we learn I'm not just good enough as I am. Like I don't just get love the way I am. I need to live up to certain expectations. Or like when I do this, when I'm nice, when I keep my close clean, then I get positive feedback from my parents. But when I break something or I'm mean, I get negative feedback. So we kind of build the self image of ourselves, which we need actually to a certain degree. But often this self image is built around one negative belief. And for most people in the core, it's like, I'm not good enough the way I am. So we start building our identity around it. There's all kinds of beliefs around that about ourselves. And these negative beliefs, we don't want to be these beliefs. So, for example, I had to believe I'm too loud, or I'm not interesting enough, or I'm not smart enough. So I start building my whole identity around this to prove that I'm not these things. So I start working really hard. I start doing my best to be interesting. I start every time I'm loud or I'm like too much, I'm like, oh, that's not good. And I start to criticize myself for it. And you judge yourself because of these things. And it's usually these things that we don't allow ourselves to be, or that we also have in ourselves, but we don't see, for example, these negative beliefs, that we start to judge in other people. So to make it more practical, the example of being too loud or being too much. Or like the podcast, I have a very high enthusiasm. So sometimes I can just say stuff or I'm a bit loud. And I used to really judge that in myself. And as a result, when people were more on like the foreground or were more, just a little bit louder, or they're like really enthusiastic and stuff, I was like, yeah, that's stupid. Like, why are they always like that? I would really judge that in these people because I wouldn't allow myself to be that, or I didn't allow myself to be that. And I've noticed, like over the last years, I've actually learned to accept that in myself and even kind of appreciate that in myself more. And I stopped judging other people for it. And it went very naturally. It was this one moment I had this like business day with some women, and there was this one woman. She was like really on the foreground, and she was like saying everything she thought and like really open and enthusiastic. And I noticed that I appreciated it for the first time instead of like judging it. I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then I realized that it was because I also didn't judge it in myself anymore. So I think the more you gossip, usually, the more you have to also uncover about yourself, and more you probably still should learn to accept about yourself. That was very deep, going from gossiping to this.
So you're saying that when we are judging other people, that means that there's something perhaps particularly about the aspect that we're judging the other person that we should reflect or discover more about ourselves.
Yeah, usually, when we judge others, it's because they allow themselves to do something we don't allow ourselves to do, or because they do something we also do but we don't realize. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to think of another example. Maybe you have you have people in your environment that are like, no, actually, I don't know if you are like this, so I don't know if that would be a thing.
Say it. So
okay,
good.
say for example, you have like a person in your a person in your environment that's like really lousy with their stuff. They always make a mess, like they always are late, and you find it extremely annoying, like really, really annoying. Like, of course, it's a little bit annoying for everybody, but you find it overly annoying because you always have everything tidy. You're always on time. Because if you're not, you judge yourself for it. You're like, I have to everything perfect. If I don't, I'm a bad person or I'm worthless or whatever. It's underneath there. Then you're gonna find that overly annoying in that person. If you would also allow yourself to be late sometimes and like to make a mess sometimes, then you wouldn't like that wouldn't affect your self-worth. You'd probably be a lot less annoyed about that person doing that. Maybe it's still a little bit annoying, but not to that extent anymore. So every time you feel very annoyed with someone, that is like more annoyed than the situation actually asks for, that is like a signal that there's something to discover about yourself there.
What are something that you did to help you accept more aspect of yourself?
Hmm, that's a tough question because it's a lot of things.
Do you
Um,
have a top three?
yeah, I think I do. One of the most important is finding, like, collecting people around you where you can be yourself. So maybe I can give kind of a metaphor that I think is kind of makes it also more clear. So I always use this metaphor to also describe this. I think most of us are kind of living with a mask on. So that negative belief that's in the core, that we don't want people to see and that we don't want to be, we try to hide that as well as good as we can. So we put on this mask, and the more effort we put in to keep the mask on, the more insecure we tend to feel, because that just reaffirms that what's underneath there isn't good. Like, it's not going to be loved. If people see this, they're going to leave me. They're not going to like me anymore. They're gonna hate me or whatever. So we keep this mask on really really tight, um, and that actually creates the opposite effect. We start being more insecure, judging ourselves more. And I think it's really important to have people around you where you can take that mask off, show the messy parts of yourself or the parts where you're insecure about, and seeing that they still love you for it, that they don't walk away. I think that helps because it's not just about working on yourself, it's also about being in the right environment. And awareness is a really important one. If you're not aware of the the things you're judging yourself for or you're trying to hide, you cannot solve it. So I think that's the first step. And like some things that can help with that, listen to yourself, listen to how you speak about yourself. Ask other people to do this also. Like every time you say, I am, yeah, I am just this, I am just that, that gives you an insight in how you view yourself. And the thing I just explained, when you're very annoyed by someone, that also gives you like an insight in to get like aware of what that is. And then a third one, I think doing the things, like leaning into the things you're scared about that are not good about yourself. So instead of trying to constantly um, run away from them, keeping the mask on really tight. So if you're afraid of making mistakes, that if you make a mistake, you're like you're a mistake or you're worthless, go make mistakes. If you're afraid of being too loud, just be loud sometimes. If you're afraid that um, if you're, for example, sad, or like if you're not always happy or positive with another person, start showing, some vulnerabilities with some people. So you can like very slowly learn to accept that more in yourself. I think that's the top three.
There's quite a few things that you share that reminds me of like my readings or my reflections. The name of this channel is called Modern Tao, and the Taoism, or the Tao in Chinese means the path
Hmm.
or the way, and it's written by this author named Lao Tzu or Lao Tzu. And in his book, he said that the one who knows does not speak, and the one who speaks does not know.
Hmm.
Which is actually, as a podcast host, that's very tough to hear that.
I can imagine. I can imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it's follow up the example that you mentioned, that when people are always, especially on social media nowadays, if they're always showing something, in a way, maybe that's they're trying to convince the world and themselves that they don't have the insecurity that's which they have and perhaps
Yeah.
everybody has.
Yeah.
And also, I love that you mentioned I am, which is consciousness, affirmation. I think there's a book called, where there's a saying like how you talk to yourself, like, how you, there's a saying, how you talk to others is how you talk to yourself,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
how you're communicating with your subconscious is so important. It's I think everybody who read a tiny bit of psychology, they will know that this picture of the iceberg, right? The iceberg is on the top,
Yeah.
20% is our conscious, and maybe actually unconscious is up to 80, maybe even 90%. Mm. And we mentioned that do something that scares you, and then to see how that feels and what's that like, right? I think I mean, stoicism quite popular these years.
Yeah.
Everybody read them now. I remember reading like Seneca on the shortness of life, maybe almost like 10 years ago. And then the whole idea was about questioning yourself, is the life I'm so feared that bad?
Mm.
And also, I have this book right here by Joseph Campbell. He had this beautiful saying, actually, two of them. One is more simple, super beautiful. It's like, follow your bliss. It's on one side. And on the other side, he also said, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek.
I love those, both of those. I also really like, and it's maybe also because that's the thing I'm moving more towards, follow your bliss, because that was also, I think, a result of the mask I put on. I was afraid to make mistakes. I have had very high perfectionism, like always wanted to like outperform everybody, be the best. If I wasn't, or even if I was, it didn't really matter. I felt not good enough, like it had to be better. Like my whole self worth was dependent on my performance. And at that point, it becomes really hard to actually enjoy stuff. I like to find that bliss in things
Hmm.
because everything starts to kind of feel like a test. So um, I I've gotten a lot better with my perfectionism, but this is still something I'm really learning more to like do stuff that's has no purpose, but it's just fun or like just brings me joy. Because I think that's really important.
Why do you think that our generation, so many people are trapped by perfectionism?
I think because we're like what can be is shoved in our face, like on social media. Like you could be a millionaire. You like in the past, like not even 50 years ago probably there were a lot more like limits like yeah, if I'm born in this family, like yeah, I have opportunities, but it's like it's different than now everybody, doesn't matter if you lived on the street your whole life, you could become a millionaire, you could become successful, and everybody's kind of confronted with that, I think. um think of other reasons. I think that's probably the main one. I think there's also, but maybe this has always been there, like a lot of emphasis on performance, like in business, in school. I think that probably also plays a part in it. That's a good question. Do you have any ideas?
Because social media is always showing the best part, the most staged
Yeah,
things. Otherwise, it's not. It's like the movies or the TVs always have been, and particularly in the past, there's a saying is saying these kind of content, movies and TVs are originated from life, but a little bit higher than life.
mm,
So it's a fantasy actually, and I think social media is not reality; it's a fantasy.
yeah,
Even though that's what is reality, we could also go into that, but it's most things on social media are staged. Even those one that seems like a spontaneous video, a lot of them are equally staged anyway.
yeah,
Like it's acting out a character to be very intense or going crazy, and that's in the past people want to see that in a TV show or in a movie, but now any social media apps that people log in and see a video, they can see anything that is extreme, the
Yeah.
most craziest, the high, or the
I think it's important. I get that this happens also. Like, um, when I take pictures, I'm also not gonna take the ugliest one, of course. Well, not of course, but I don't I don't do it. But in the past, I also didn't want to share the vulnerable parts. Well, English, or when I made mistakes, or when I had a difficult time, and I'm doing that a lot more because I think that is also what's necessary now. That people see everybody struggling, or like everybody has their insecurities, and we're all human. We all just we like 90% of no, actually 100% of people actually have no idea what they're doing. Like most of the time, only sometimes we kind of have an idea, but we're just like trying to like live a life, and we don't understand anything about what's going on inside of us or around of us and or around us. And you can get more insight during your life, but we're all just like trying and like messing around. But it when you feel like you're not understanding it, and everybody around you is just showing their perfect life on social media, you kind of feel isolated, I think. And I think the solution is that we all have, especially when you have more of a platform, is to show that you also don't know a lot of the time, and that you make mistakes, and that you sometimes feel sad, and that you sometimes feel insecure. And I think that also helps people to see more of the human in themselves when they can see it also in other people.
I think for all human beings, particularly men out there, being vulnerable is probably the best thing they could do. Maybe it doesn't have to be on social media,
Yeah,
right?
of
Because
course.
I think a lot of people, personally for me, I try to use less and less social media, but
Mm.
in person, being vulnerable is like a flower opening up its petal, and then
Yeah.
the inside is the most vulnerable part. But only by opening up and being vulnerable, and that's how you shine and live in a life that who you really are.
Yeah.
Like the flower is opening, right? Like the opening in English is such an interesting thing. Is the heart is opening, the
Mm.
flower is opening or blossom, and only by open that's how you can blossom.
Yeah.
Otherwise, just in that shell,
There's also
right?
this beautiful quote that I love. I'm going to translate it from Dutch, so I'm not sure if it sounds like you can only be seen once you first show yourself. And when you only show the perfect parts of yourself and get love or acceptance in return for it, you can never fully feel loved. It's only when you're able to show every part, also your struggles, your negative thoughts, like your whole inner world, that you can actually feel completely loved. Otherwise, it's always like this thing like, okay, they love me now, but if they see what's underneath, like I need to keep that hidden because, but that's not true. Like people that care about you, they're gonna love all of you, and if they don't, they're probably not your people. But I think we often still view vulnerability or like sharing this inner world as like a burden on others or like as a weakness. But I think it's the opposite. It's a strength because it also, well, not because, but like it takes a lot of courage to do that. Um, and I like that is one of my main missions to help people like do that more, take off that mask, like show themselves more. Because I know from experience and also from what I see in my clients that it doesn't just make your connections with the people around you deeper and better, but it also makes your like relationship with yourself and your whole life a lot better when you can do that. So yeah. I'm curious, like, do you feel like you're in an environment where you can like take off a mask to stay in the metaphor?
One more thing, that when we're recording to this point, as she's asking me this fascinating question, we actually run into some technical difficulty. It's sincerely my apologies. But what I hope is that you found it fascinating, the topics we talk about, because this is just getting better. So take a break, get some water, get your drinks on, and take a step back, kick your feet up, and enjoy for the rest part of the conversation. Because like I said, it's just getting better. And I will also invite you to check out in the description that our sponsors for this episode of the podcast.
It also helps to not, put as much weight on stuff, because everything is just like more of a story, instead of everything what's happening around us is true, and everything how we experience it is true. So if someone looks at me a certain way, or if someone tells me something and I have the idea, like, okay, that means this, it's not necessarily the truth. And I think that can kind of help with it. But like I said, like I'm also struggling to explain it because it's something that's also hard to understand with logic.
Right.
Maybe you should first explain what it means to you so I can also have a better idea.
I heard this example. It says that maybe it's from this film or series of film that made by one of my friends. His name is Dan Schmidt. And they have amazing meditation resources and films out there. And it says that after a kid learned what a tree is, this kid will never see a tree ever again in his or her life, because every time when he walked past and realized that, oh, that's a tree, then that's it. Because that's how humans, we understand the world as labeling.
Yeah, it's concepts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Versus the essence of that tree. Right? For example, tree is incredible. There are like studies and facts that in the forest, that all the trees are with their stems, they're like all communicating, talking to each other. So non-dual, to me, that also in, totally going to butcher the Sanskrit here, is, I think it's niti or something along the line. It means now this, now that. Trying to say the reality is neither this nor that.
Yeah.
Reality is as it is.
Yeah.
Without the story.
Yeah.
And actually my friends Dan and his center, they always, which have done their meditation retreat twice, and that's their whole emphasis of meditation, which is non-duality.
Yeah, but it's also in us, like we see ourselves also as a concept. So, but it's also like a story. So that's also really interesting. But like, again, I don't have the knowledge to actually talk about this. But I think like getting an insight into these like theories, it in a way helps to take off the heaviness of some things for me. Yeah, I'm not even sure how to explain it. I need to think about this more before I start talking about it, probably.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
What do you mean by taking the pressure off from you?
So, the more you see yourself as a real thing that's existing in every characteristic that you have of something real, I'm really bad at thinking out loud.
You're doing great.
I'm not sure, actually. This is like a topic that's really interesting to me, but it kind of goes beyond logic, and I can understand it like now on a feeling level, but not yet on a level where I can explain it. That makes sense.
Right.
So this is probably a really bad topic for a podcast right now.
That's what makes the podcast amazing. Because it's true. It's facts.
Yeah.
Or facts. We're free flow based. But you don't strike me as a person who's not great at communicating her feelings.
Well, the thing is, I'm good at communicating my feelings. I'm not good at feeling. If that makes sense, like like I've always kind of had this, that I usually just feel positive. Okay, now we're going into a different direction. I'm trying to very consciously move away from non-duality.
Yeah.
But like I'm good at communicating, like because I've learned that I wasn't at all in the beginning. Like I talked about with the mask, I would never share when I was struggling with something, or when I was feeling sad. I thought I always have to be happy. Like I always have to be there for other people. And I think that kind of caused me to push down my feelings, so I didn't feel them anymore. If I feel something, I am now at a point where I'm really good at letting the other person know. But you have to also feel it first. If that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense, because I was going to ask you that how do you communicate something that you don't understand? Right? If you haven't felt those internalized feelings.
Yeah. I think it's, I feel it sometimes. So when I feel something, or sometimes it's even on a logical level, that I'm like, okay, I know I don't like this, or it's not helping me, then I can communicate it. But some things, so for example, sadness and stuff, I find difficult to feel, or anger, I don't feel at all. So I'm not always good at when people overstep a boundary or they don't treat me nicely. When I know logically they overstep a boundary, I can communicate it. But it's never out of anger because I don't feel it. So it also doesn't like really reach the other person as well, if that makes sense. It's from a logical standpoint always.
What does it mean that you don't feel anger? You don't get mad ever?
Actually, no. This has been a topic that I've kind of talked about a lot, and I kind of tried to unpack. Because sometimes anger is kind of necessary. I think it's good if you can get angry. I just don't feel it. Because when someone like oversteps a boundary, for example, I can always understand why they do it. So, for example, when someone gets like really angry at me, they start yelling at me, and I'm like, this is actually not, I didn't do anything wrong. They probably are struggling at the moment, and I was a trigger for something, probably this, and I logically understand it. So I just kind of stay calm, like communicate my boundary, but it doesn't help. Sometimes people actually need the emotion to be behind it. Well, it helps, but not always. So I think when you understand it on a logical level, you can still communicate it, but it's not always as efficient. If that makes sense. But this thing we were just talking about, I understand it on a like sense level, but there's the logic to go with it that's not there. So wait, I shouldn't say this. Now we're moving towards it again. I need to.
Well, about non-duality, that might be exactly the case, which is beyond the understanding of the logical mind.
It is.
It's just like when you have a computer and we run a program that takes more RAM or processing power than the computer does, the computer cannot load that program. And maybe the true essence of reality is also overwhelming for our brain to be understand it logically.
Yeah, and I think this also helped me to understand it a little bit. Like we have this external reality that we view as objective, and we have this internal subjective, like the thoughts and feelings. And there's like a third thing. It's our consciousness, like our awareness of both of these. But that part is really important, that part, the awareness part. But we can never see this because it's the thing that sees it all. So if we would be able to see the awareness, it would mean there would be something above it, which there isn't. So there is no way of logically understanding or like seeing awareness, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
you can observe it.
Yeah.
But in the meditation, they'll ask, who is experiencing these things? They'll ask, who is breathing?
You said you can observe it, but I'm not sure because it's a thing that is observing. So can you observe the observer? Probably not, because that would mean there's something above it.
But also like what you're saying earlier, then maybe that aboveness or the something above is within all of us. So maybe if it could be done, maybe that's how it's done.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you're saying, I think we're like theorizing it a little bit. And this is the thing, right? Like for those who never tried tomato, you can describe what tomato tastes like all you want. But the bad thing is for them to try it. Then they will know when you're talking about the taste of tomato. They'll know exactly what it is. And I think for meditation, for spiritual awakening, it's all, to me, it's probably the best just for people to experience it on their own. And have you had a spiritual awakening or even maybe dark night of the soul?
I am not sure if I have a really clear image of that concept, so you can explain it.
So, dark night of the soul is a concept by the Swiss psychologist Carl Jung. He named it. In American English, they call it the rock bottom. Have you been through something that was so tough to you that you feel like there was no hope, that it was so tough that you feel like you couldn't carry on anymore, that was no way out? And how did you come out of that? If you have been through something, if you haven't, because Dutch people are tough.
I'm not sure if I've ever had a moment where I was like, I'm not sure if I actually I had that last year. Like not maybe to that extent, but let's just say my whole life kind of fell apart. Like I can maybe give some insight because I already told this on another podcast also. So let's just like throw it all on the table. So like in 1 week, first my parents divorced. Then 2 days after, I partook in a television program, which let's just say I didn't really see the days before. And it's like something where you really have to prove yourself and push yourself. And I wasn't able to do it at all. And like millions of people watched this program. So I never felt the amount of shame and guilt that I felt in that moment. And then I came home from the television program. I hadn't slept for I think it's 31 hours. And I slept that night. And in the morning, I got a call that a really good friend actually took his life. So that all happened in the span of 4 days. And then my 7-year relationship ended, which was my own decision, of course, but it was my own decision. So I kind of put that on there myself too. And I remember having, because it was also a really busy period, so I had to keep going. I remember waking up many mornings. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna get through this day. It was never, I don't want to get through this day. I don't want to live, but it was I don't know how to do it. So it wasn't this one moment where it's wow, this pushed me out of something, but I think it did teach me a lot. I'm not sure if that's what you're describing though.
What did you learn from that period?
I think one of the most important things, which is also something we already talked about, I learned multiple things, but one of the most important things is when we share stuff, when we share the things most insecure about, it makes it lighter, not heavier. Because I never used to talk about stuff that I struggle with. But one, it was being like put on television, so I had no way around it. And also so many things happened that I didn't know how to deal with it when keeping it to myself. So I kind of had to talk about it. And I had some of the right people also in that period to help me with that. And I think that really taught me a lot about also taking off the mask, which I think is a really important lesson that I learned on a really deep level. Because this is probably an illusion, but I feel like I'm really good at taking off that mask now. And I'm probably putting it on in ways that I don't even realize. But without that year, I would have never learned that at this level.
Well, thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome.
It's like the people that have been through the darkest hour are exactly the people that can shine the brightest, because they knew how tough it is in those times.
Mm-hmm. I think it can also help you see the human in other people. When you know what it's like to struggle, when you know what it's like to suffer, you don't judge these things in other people as much anymore. When they feel shame or guilt or another emotion, you can see it also more in them and help them to allow it to be there, I think. And I think that's not just helpful for yourself, but also for the people around you and for your relationships and everything. So.
Was the TV program The Camp?
Yes, that one.
Oh.
Yeah, do it. Pronounce it. You can do it. Or should I help you?
Camp Bon?
Yeah. Go
That.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, that was the one.
Is it on YouTube, your segment? Or
it's on their website. I'm not sure if you can watch it from a different country. I don't think so.
Really?
Yeah. It's also on there. They also have an Instagram. There's also some stuff.
So
don't watch it, please.
So people could only see the highlight of your performance and competition on their Instagram.
No.
There
was no highlight.
Should we drop a link?
No. No, yeah, you can do it. Well, it's basically a television program where you take you to true commando training, so similar to SEAL training, the Halloween kind of thing, and it's you kind of have to get through the days as a team, but you can also be kicked out or give up. And we started with we started very mild. We got into this I don't know the word for it, this building, and we had to sleep for the whole night on bed. So we actually got it was really nice that we got to sleep, because other years they couldn't. But I couldn't sleep. I didn't sleep 1 minute. So in the morning I felt so fucked up. And the whole night I worried about, I thought about what was going to happen. I thought about everything was going on in my own life at that point. And throughout that night, I already lost a lot of faith in myself, to be really fair. Then in the morning, we were put in a pool, and we had to wear this overall. Is that a translation you can do in English? It's a Dutch word, I think. And we had to swim and dive to the bottom, and we also got our hands and feet got tie ripped, and they had to swim and stuff. So it was pretty intense. Like
mermaids.
Yeah, kinda, and
with no sleep.
With no sleep, and even the people that knew me, they were the first morning you went on TV, that was the first day, they were I didn't even recognize you. You looked so bad at that point already. So I wasn't in the best mental and physical state at that point, but I didn't expect myself to be as bad as I was. But then we had to go on a speed march. So you get a backpack, which is, I think was like 20 or 25 kgs. And then we had to you run for a bit and then you walk, and it's like a really fast pace. And I was also, there were like 4 women, I believe, 4 or 5. And I was the smallest one, which is not an excuse, but it didn't help me. And I got so in my head during this. And I started believing I couldn't do it, and I gave up, which is like the one thing and the first one also, which is something that didn't really fit in my own image of me, and I don't know why I couldn't do it at that point. I don't know, but I've never felt that much like shame and disappointment in myself. I felt really heavy. Like I've never felt that before. And funnily enough, I think that taught me more than if I would have made it to the end. Or like, not even more. It taught me something really different, and it taught me something that I needed to learn to how, like, in my mission in life, I think. Because I always had this like feeling that I needed to prove myself, that underneath I was worthless, and this program was also something that I did. So like this was also, just to keep in the metaphor, a mask, and the mask got pulled off my face like really hard, and I think that gave me a lot of clarity into what can actually help people accept themselves more. So even though it wasn't fun, I think it was a valuable lesson, and I think that's the main thing or like the biggest thing I learned from it.
I still want to see those.
Well, you can look at them. Yeah, it's like I'm also not feeling ashamed about it anymore, because I know what it brought me. And I think not that bad things always need to bring you something, but when it does, it's definitely less painful when you can get the lesson out of it. Sometimes you need to get through the same shameful thing multiple times before you get the lesson, but I think in every negative thing, there is something good.
Absolutely. Earlier you talked about you don't get angry.
Mm-hmm.
So if I were watching that program and I took a screenshot of you and made them to stickers, would you get mad?
No, probably not.
Okay.
Like that's also the thing. Like the more serious you take yourself, the harder you make your life. So try not to take myself too seriously.
Okay. Just for the record, nobody's listening nor watching. Please don't do it. I'm serious. Like, please don't do it.
Please do. No, kidding. No, I didn't say that. I dug my own home.
Be careful.
My own grave.
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, I take it back.
It would be fun in a birthday if your closest friend do that and put that on a calendar. Like not only
burn it.
Not only just that, but maybe like that and your closest friend together. You know, everybody pick their own memes and put them together.
Oh, that's
like
a good idea. Yeah. Like I think it's a good thing to not take ourselves so seriously. I think humor is also a cure in a lot of ways.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so curious about this anger thing, that you don't get angry, so you don't ever say like "fuck you" or how do you say "fuck you" in Dutch?
Just "fuck you" works.
Okay.
Yeah, that works.
You don't ever say that, pretty much.
Like in a humoristic way, not like angry. There's like one situation where I used to get angry at, but now I also don't anymore. It's like when I'm in the car and someone like does something dumb, or I think someone does something dumb and maybe it's even me, I don't know. But I don't know. Because that probably often happens to all of us, that we think someone else does something dumb and we're actually the ones. But I used to get mad at that, but I don't know, I just don't anymore. It's like not worth it also. I don't know, maybe something is a bit suppressed. I'm not sure if I'm just better at regulating it now, and I'm like, yeah, maybe that person is just having a shit day, or like if they do it on purpose, like that sucks for them that they're like that. But like, I don't know. Yeah, I've also been trying to figure this out in myself, and I haven't found the solution, or like I don't need a solution for it, but I haven't like understood it. Maybe I will one day. Maybe never.
Maybe you are a sociopath.
That's for sure.
Or that's a big word. But even I study psychology in America, but even sociopath, there's a big spectrum. It's not like all sociopaths going out there and kill people. It could be just antisocial people are in a way, not exact, but a little bit close to that. And or maybe Asperger's people, that they could be very talented at something, but they're terrible or not so good at some other things. For example, people like Kanye West, or maybe supposedly Elon Musk, that they're a little bit social awkward, where they don't feel some type of emotions or feelings.
I have a theory. Because when I was younger, I would have a lot of these like anger, or like, I don't know the English word for it, like these anger outbursts. And it could also be that I, at one point, like suppressed it. I'm not sure. But I don't think we always have to, we can never fully understand ourselves, no matter how hard we try. And sometimes it's also not necessary. Like at this point, I don't feel like it's yet having a negative impact on something in my life. So I am trying to understand it, because I think it's also just interesting. But like if it at one point I would feel like it would have a negative impact, maybe I would work on it more consciously. But like also it doesn't make sense to me right now, because it doesn't have a negative impact to like fully try to understand and then put labels on it and everything. Like, I don't know.
You got more important things to do.
Well, I hope so.
Like trying to get more tan and building amazing relationship with your clients.
Yes. Well, I'm not sure about the 10th thing, but the last thing for sure.
How and where do you get your clients?
Where do I get them? Well, they're just living their life and they're stuck in a way. And then they come across me for some reason, either on like social media or mostly just social media probably. Or also like I've also gotten like people in my environment. I've met multiple of my clients on festivals actually. So don't know how that happens.
What festivals?
Well, yeah, like hardstyle festivals, kind of. So, do you know what that is? Yeah, let's leave it like that.
Like techno festivals?
Yeah, similar. Yeah, but a little bit like, I think most people would describe it as techno is more music. No, I wouldn't describe it like that, but I think my parents would.
Techno is not music.
I said more music. Let's skip over this.
Oh, we are getting to something, ladies and gentlemen. It's just getting good.
I don't know how to explain it, actually, also.
Okay.
You just listen to it afterwards.
Do people stay there at these festivals, or is like one day thing?
No, sometimes it's the weekend. It's really nice, actually. Yeah.
There are music. There are music.
Yeah. It's music. But like if I would use my parents' description, they don't think it's music. Let's say it like that. But I really do like it. I used to listen to this music a lot when I was working out mainly or in the car.
Like metal?
No, yeah, I don't know how to. It's most similar to techno, but a bit harder, like the harder techno. It's kind of similar to that. If that makes sense. I use the word hardstyle because actually it's like more raw style or up tempo, but I don't think most people will get that. So
trance, that's the type of music.
No.
Okay.
But I have to admit, I don't listen to it a lot outside the festivals anymore. Now I go to the festivals also for my friends mainly, because we have like a really nice group of people there with like really nice energy, really nice people that I also have like a really good connection with. So the music is nice on the festival. I used to love it, but now I just think it's nice. But it's mainly the people that I love to go for.
Right, because when you say that, let's not gonna tell you too much about it. In my mind, it's like a festival in the middle of the woods in Netherlands that people are
having. It was the music, because people sometimes like
that people are having orgies.
No, it's not like that at all. It's just like dancing and having fun with friends, and like it's often also like outside and the sun is shining and it's super nice. But the music often gets judged, so that was why I was a bit resistant. Yeah, nothing else crazy going on.
No orgies.
No orgies. No, not that I know of. Like, who knows what's happening in the Dixies? But like,
are you sure?
I'm sure. Why are you interested in that? Have you ever been to a festival with orgies?
When we take you to Netherlands, please. I was going to go to Burning Man with a couple of my friends.
Yeah, there you have them. Right?
I never made it, so... Actually, talking about Burning Man, just want to put it out there because it's so interesting that really in this day and age that anybody could do anything that they enjoy and sustain their lives. Because I was staying in this Airbnb at the time to visiting Los Angeles. It was like in Hollywood, and the tall apartment building that literally at the corner they have like 2 big balconies, and you stand on a balcony, you can see the Hollywood sign. Lovely view. And I stay in that guy's apartment, and I talk about it, asked him what he was doing for a living, and he literally made these outfits for Burning Man and music festivals, and I guess sometimes for the movies and television too. And he literally just does that.
That's cool.
But in a way that's such detail. If it's like a horse head or something, he'll get rare materials of like, I don't know, like some hair somewhere that almost looks like horse hair. And he does that for a living.
People also get super creative with the outfits there.
Yeah,
that's really cool. I can imagine, like, do you, because you said like you're also into fashion and stuff, right? Like, how do you look at those outfits? Like, does that inspire you, or do you think that's like over the top, or like?
Yeah, I think it's quite amazing to me that see the human creativity and expression, because that's also one of the reasons, not only go, like you're saying, going together with friends or some other people, I don't know who, go to those events to have orgies.
It's really a topic that's interesting to you, right? You keep bringing it up.
Or maybe for the audience.
Yeah. I don't believe that.
I'm just a channel for them. And also, that's a way to express themselves, to be in an environment that people are there to enjoy and really coming together and just dance and be free, right? And yeah, because let's say in Asia, I mean nowadays more and more, but when I was growing up, that people were usually wearing quite, I don't know, traditional or maybe sometimes even a little bit boring way. And then see the fashion in the West is pretty cool and very inspiring sometimes. And for my fashion brand, and nowadays what we're aiming to do is to have sustainable material and material that heals people, that elevating the energy. Like for example, this is made out of wool.
Oh, nice. Is that like elevating energy?
For wool, it could be this is a yoga outfit, so it could be like very very thin, but also at the same time it contains a lot of warmth. So that's why in the winter, like I wear this all the time, and it's quite stretchable as well. And also we're looking at linen, hemp. Like in the past, I think in the 50s or 60s, at least in America, I'm not sure about Netherlands or Europe, at the time everybody was using linen sheets.
Not anymore, I think. It's more expensive now, probably.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And also now even it's cotton, but they use usually, let's say 20 to 80 or maybe even 100% of course cotton, but a lot of time they mixed with some other like other kind of plastic, other kind of fibers like polyester, like all the, you work out all the time. That's, I don't know, perhaps even for you, that very, very conscious and aware person, that's literally all yoga and workout outfits are all made of polyester, which is literally this plastic. And there's study being done in America, I think over the world as well, more and more, because people are more aware that when you're wearing the polyester, those kind of leggings, for example, and people sweat in them, there's something called like microplastic. And if you wear it for a long time and you're sweating them, the plastic literally go into your skin.
I know about microplastic, but I had no idea that had to do with like polyester.
Yeah.
Or like that could get into.
Yeah, because the polyester are, I mean, there are many ways to do it. Number one, it's extremely chemical because they need to dye that. And also it has to be very, very thin. And it's essentially, obviously it's more material than that, but it's just the recycled plastic bottles. Yeah.
I learned something. I'm also really curious because in the beginning, before we started recording, we also talked about authenticity for a bit. I'm really curious in what way clothing like relates to authenticity to you. Or like, is that for you part of being authentic to like the way you dress?
I think there's a difference between clothing and fashion, for sure. In the fashion world, it seems to be so much about glamour because it always seems to be to pay some worldwide known model big money to promote the brand because it's such a psychological thing. It's like, oh, if you buy this perfume or if you buy this jacket, you're going to be like him or her. Right, and that's always the message or subconscious communication of the advertising or the campaign, and that's fashion. But also, if you strip away the glamour, it's actually at the end of the day, it's about clothing. It's about the product itself. It would just be like, for example, there are companies out there that make great products, but maybe don't advertise that much. But also, there are companies out there that maybe don't make such great product, but they have insane amount of very creative marketing strategy. Right. And I think, to be honest, the fashion industry has not been evolved that much, maybe perhaps even the last like 50 years or so. Because I mean, earlier we were talking about yoga outfits, right? Yoga outfits has not changed for a very long time, right? It's always the same, always plastic, polyester, but just different colors and maybe showing more skin. However, I think just like we just talked about the linen sheets, right? But bringing these material that are ideally quite natural, or super, super ideal way will be 100% natural, right? And also that's why one reason back in the days people wear this natural material all the time, because back in the days people just washing everything with their hands, right? For example, dissecting a little bit, I was in Portugal, in Porto, specifically right outside of Porto, across the water. There's a city called Gaia. That's where the Porto wine from. Even it's called Porto, is called Gaia, right? That Gaia is like a fisherman's village, right? Till this day, right on their marina, they have these being preserved, the area for the fisherman's wife to go there to wash their clothes. And then
Really?
till this day, they still use that.
Oh my god.
And then they have all this area that where they, like back in the days, they hang their clothes out there, and it's like around the marina. It's wild.
We're definitely like less conscious with our clothes because it's just like we buy something cheap, then it's not good anymore. We throw it away. Like we just throw it in the machine. Like it's
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And for me, another thing that blows my mind is that, okay, if the argument was to having polyester to make them higher quality, fine, I get it. For example, a lot of fast fashion brands like Zara, Mango, they use so much polyester material, other kind of plastic compounds in their clothes, but the quality is not better at all, right? So if the argument was to, okay, put them in here, make better quality, but which was not the case, but actually the only case for them is to cut down the cost of them making them. And most of them, they hire, like, say, a sweat factory in Asia somewhere or in South America somewhere, which they'll pay the people like $1 a day or something, or 50 cents a day, which is crazy. While they're making like so much money. For example, I think Mr. Ortega, that's the owner of the Zara Inditex, and he has many different companies. He's like the wealthiest man in Spain. Right? He owns all these brands, but he's so low key in a way, because I'm sure that he knows that even he's making so much money for himself and for his family, but how about the impact that his business is impacting the worker's life and the waste, how much it's polluting, the waste during the production process and after the production process, when people throw them away, like they burn these clothes a lot of times, right? Even a high fashion brand like Gucci, and then there are all these kind of news that even they don't want those bags or their clothes to be on sale, so literally either go to a desert and they burn them, or they just like dig a hole and put them in there. Which is crazy.
So wasteful.
Right.
We're
exactly.
wasting so much.
Exactly. It's like also it's like, dude, that you guys are already making so much money. Like in theory, you don't need more. They're like making billions of dollars a year. However, back to the point, I think it's so important that not only our brand and my team, our designer, to make more and use more sustainable material, ideally maybe local, right? If you're in Barcelona, get some local material like linen made out of Catalonia or something, or linen made out of Los Angeles. Or if you're in New Zealand, get some wool that made out of New Zealand or Australia to use those sustainable material. And it just feels, when you wear them, it just feels a little bit better that you are like treating yourself a little bit more than the other fast fashion brands. And also it's like how you wear is also a way of thinking different and challenge the status quo, because people think certain style is cool because they spend a lot of money to run those ads, and it's in the mind and public consciousness, right? For example, some influencers on some social media, they wear, oh, this is the fit of the day. Sure, that's kind of cool, that's kind of clean, but why not explore your own unique style?
They buy the brand, not the clothes, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. It's always that. It's like the psychology, right? Because it's like brands like Zara, like give people this impression of like clean, the blazer. Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, you're youthful, you're young people, you're like, like that. So that's a little bit rant on fashion and how it's killing our planet, and especially future generations. We cannot live on this planet act like that our grandchildren and their children is not gonna be on this planet anymore. I think that's fucking terrible.
I agree. There's definitely, and I'm definitely not a saint in this, but there's definitely a lot of consumerism that we should be more conscious of. But yeah, I get what you mean.
On that note, how long you been vegan?
Well, I kind of lied because I'm not 100% vegan anymore. I've been 100% vegan for 8 years, I guess. And the last year, kind of, the last year, I've sometimes incorporated just to make my life easier, especially in Spain. When I went to Valencia, that was actually the reason. When I eat outside, for example, in a restaurant, I sometimes eat stuff with cheese because there's not always options. But my main diet is still vegan. So yeah, I know it's kind of ironic because I already told that I grew up on a farm, but yeah, maybe that even played into it.
Well, if you're in Spain, you gotta have those croquetas, right? Have you
I
had
am
those?
100% vegetarian though, just not 100% vegan.
Croquetas, they have mushroom.
Okay, that's good.
They have
in the Netherlands, croquettes, for Dutch, something completely different. It's like a meat type of thing.
croquetas. They have actually, yeah. If you don't remember, I'll text you this. They have the mushroom ones, and I think in Madrid more they have the spinach ones.
Oh,
yeah,
Not sure if I ever had that. Maybe I did, and I just don't remember.
But I think, but this is the thing for you. I think when they are making the dough or the inside, there's either butter or milk or maybe both. So that's something that's
sometimes also egg.
And that would make sense. It would make sense. Yeah. You know what it, but in Dutch or in the Netherlands, the croquette, the outside, it looks the same, but it's just much bigger, right?
Yeah. And it has meat in it.
What? Okay.
So
in France as well. I think in France it's a little bit bigger. In Portugal as well. It's
Yeah, I should try those.
Yeah, because I think in the past that's how when they have leftover food, that's how they take advantage and use those food again to make something else to store it, so that they can kind of not throw those food away.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Curious.
Yeah.
I will try to find it somewhere here.
Yeah. Or there's vegetarian paella for sure. Have you had those?
I definitely had vegetarian paella.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. I really like that.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, the thing is, vegetarian is pretty doable, especially in today's society because there's a lot of options. Vegan is definitely a lot more doable than it used to be. But there is still a lot of restaurants where they don't really offer vegan options. And I kind of got tired of always having to be the person that was no, we cannot go there because there's nothing for me. Or always have to ask the waiter, can you make something special for me? And this, I feel I can do this for the rest of my life. I eat very, very limited amounts of dairy products and almost close to zero egg, only in these somewhere where they have it in a sauce, and I don't know, for example, but I don't like eggs. But and I can do this for the rest of my life, and that benefit is a lot bigger than me having stopped last year because I cannot do it 100%. Let's just go back to eating normal. So I think that's what we maybe should all do on every aspect, kind of try to see what we can do when you can never do it perfect. There's no way that's possible, but kind of be more conscious about it. How we consume.
Absolutely. Then I guess maybe one about us is a lot of people are also curious. It's how do you get so fit by being on this vegan diet?
It's definitely harder because I think almost the same month that I started going to the gym, I also went vegan. So if people say you cannot build muscle on a vegan diet, that's bullshit. But it's definitely a lot harder because, for one, there is less protein in most plant-based sources, and also there's not a complete amino acid profile. So, I always kind of compare it to a chain with different types of beads, different colors. We need a certain type of chain with a certain type amount of certain colors to build to like build the cells in our bodies and stuff. And animals have the same like necklace as us, like to keep it in these words. Plant-based products, they don't. So you have to compare like different necklaces, like different types of products to also make the chain that we need. So you need more protein. You need to make sure you get it from different sources, and it's already harder to get a certain amount of protein in like a certain amount of calories, because you, like, for example, when you get like an egg or just egg white, it's lower calories, like a lot higher protein, for example. That's harder to do on a vegan diet, but it's possible. It was a long explanation to get to that point.
Do you eat tofu, like beans all day, spinach?
I do like tofu a lot. I also use vegan protein shakes. That makes life a lot easier. I like chickpeas. I like lentils. I like also sometimes meat replacements, but I kind of like see which one has like the lowest amount of like added like oils and stuff, and the highest amount of protein, because usually those also aren't that great.
They taste fucking horrible.
Yeah, sometimes they do, but there are also good ones. There are good ones. You just have to look. But also keep in mind, this is coming from a person that hasn't eaten meat in like over 9 years, so I'm probably not. I'm a bit biased, probably.
Do you miss it?
Meat? No, not at all.
What if you smell it? How do you feel?
A little bit. It used to really gross me out. Eggs, I actually, they make me nauseous, the smell of it. Like meat, sometimes I like the smell, sometimes it's like, but I never crave it. It's never like, oh, I wish I could eat it, because I think the funny thing, I always used to have very much resistance to people that were very vegetarian or vegan. I always thought they didn't understand, and they were kind of like stupid people. And then I watched the documentary Earthlings, and this is gonna sound weird, because of course, like rationally, I knew before that the meat I was eating was an animal. But for the first time, I didn't just see it as food, but I saw it as an animal on my plate. I cannot logically explain this, what changed, but it was like, it felt so different than before just by watching a documentary. I couldn't eat it anymore. Just, I don't know, changed something.
What was the name of the documentary?
Earthlings.
Earthlings.
Yeah, like Earthlings, like beings of Earth, like, kind of like, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I also watched it with other people afterwards, and they weren't as impacted by it as I was, but I've heard more people that went vegan after seeing it.
Maybe there's that kind of connection between you haven't eaten meat for 9 years and your mood and like energetic appreciation and no anger. Maybe there's no scientific proof on this, but maybe that when you eat meat, that's obviously the animals are being slaughtered, and their energy or emotion is like data, like how our DNA stores data, right? And that when we're eating those, and that's why in some culture, some religion, they really care about how the animal was killed.
Yeah.
So if the people are not aware of that, maybe that's somehow influence your mood, but would be just because we're so used to that. And hospitality or restaurants is a huge business, and we're not aware of that. Perhaps
I never made that connection, but like it could make sense. I'm really not sure. I'm also curious if there was ever like any research done into this. Probably there is, but I never really heard of it or looked into it.
Right.
But I'm definitely not gonna say like everybody should go vegan. Well, I think that on a moral level, but I think it can also, when you don't do it consciously, lead to some problems of like not getting enough minerals or vitamins. So you have to do it like consciously. So yeah, I just wanted to add that.
I guess that's when people talk to Shelly.
Yeah.
So does your boyfriend eat meat?
Yeah, but he's also been vegetarian for like 14 years in the past.
Oh, he did. So now he no longer eats meat,
No.
just eggs sometimes.
No, he eats meat now.
Okay.
But
he was.
He was vegetarian for 14 years.
What's it gonna be like when you throw in Bali at home and he's like cooking steak and eggs? You're like,
well, my roommate now, she also just like eats meat, and my past relationship, my ex also just ate meat and stuff. And in the beginning, I felt a lot of resistance. Like I didn't want to eat at the same table and stuff because it was like I couldn't see it any other way. Like I didn't understand once I understood it, or once I got it in myself, I couldn't understand that other people didn't. Like it wasn't even a way like, oh, you're stupid, but it was like I felt like, oh, if I show them this, they'll also have the same reaction as me. So I tried to explain, but people didn't have that reaction, and I felt so much resistance to like having meat on the table and stuff. So I would usually like cook separately and then eat like alone. But I don't have that anymore. Like you kind of get used to it again, and I also understand that it's. I think it would be good for everybody to eat less meat. I also understand that it's probably not for everybody to be vegan. That makes sense.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Earlier you said that you want to help people. Why?
I guess it's a little bit also an intuition that I've always had. And this is something I've thought about, and it's hard to say this because it's hard to know what's nature, what's nurture, what's like, we can try to understand it afterwards. But I feel like it's also because I was at a point where I was struggling with a lot of things, and I didn't feel like I had people that understood me or like that could kind of help me. Well, not even help me. Like I think more understood me, and I would love to do that for other people now. Now I've kind of gotten out of that place, and I think that's really driving me to like help other people because I can kind of see that part in them that I was struggling with.
You've been through that pain and you wouldn't wish other people to go through that.
It's not that I don't want other people to go through pain, because I think sometimes pain can be very valuable. It's a lot nicer to do it together with someone that actually sees and understands you, I think. So it's not like I'm going to take their pain away or like what they're struggling with, but just trying to help them and make sure they don't feel like they have to do it alone, I think.
Don't you think that we're always alone?
I don't think so. I think we're never alone. Like
Why?
Like this is also how we got to like the non-duality topic. So this is also just a theory, or like, yeah, this I would call it a theory that I've only explored more in the last months. But I think on a deep level, we're all going through the same things, and we all, like, let's just call it like almost our, like energetically, or like with our consciousness, or like connected. But we separate ourselves because we feel like we're alone. But I don't think we ever really are alone, because there is like this is something really valuable also that I've learned from everyone that I got to coach. Our problems aren't that different. It's based on the same things in the core. but we feel like we're alone. But everybody kind of goes through the same things on different levels or in like a little bit different ways. And we can isolate ourselves, but we're never really alone. If that makes sense.
Do you think that isolation that came from us? It's like we feel isolated when we're pushing the world away.
I think it's a little bit also where society is heading. Like it's a lot more focused in individuality, and it never used to be like that. Because you also see this in like certain countries. I'm not sure if you watched the documentary Blue Zones. Blue Zones.
No.
It's like there are certain areas. Or like certain, I'm not sure what the word is, like certain areas on Earth where people like get to an like significantly higher age than average, and they've kind of looked what the correlations between these areas are, and a very big correlation is that people are more connected to each other. Like they live more, like less individual, like more in groups. They do stuff together. I think we've moved away from that, and I'm not sure when, but we started to see like all our problems as our problems, not as the problems we get to solve together in a community. And I think that's creating a lot of problems. But I don't think that we isolate ourselves means that we're actually alone, if that makes sense. It makes sense in my head, but I realize once I'm talking, it might sound weird.
Maybe Spain is one of those blue zones because compared to America, for sure, that Spanish people are known, or Mediterranean, particularly Spanish, Italian, perhaps Greeks as well, never been to Greece, that people spend a lot of time socializing with their friends. And you always see like big or small groups. They're always socializing.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. Also, earlier you were saying that when you're going out with friends, there's so much about listening and venting your problem. What's difficult? What are something difficult that you're going through? Maybe I would say 90% of the time, or maybe even more percentage, that they don't necessarily give you a solution, but after that you realize that, oh, I feel so much better even I don't get a solution, because within myself I can find the solution.
Yeah.
So
often we don't need a solution, we just need to feel understood, I think, also, to not feel alone, or like the problems we think are problems usually aren't as like true, like as real as we think they are. And we don't, a lot of the time, don't need a solution. We just need to know that it's okay that we're feeling like that and not feel ashamed about it or not feel like we're wrong because of it. And that already makes the problem a lot lighter.
I have this quote from Dutch writer Corrie ten Boom.
Doesn't ring a bell.
How do you say it?
Corrie ten Boom.
It says, "Worry does not empty tomorrow of its sorrow." For me, it's more on the first part, which is, worrying too much does not change reality itself, even it's perhaps something that's quite fundamental feeling for a human being, that worrying or overwhelming and so when you're working with your clients, if earlier you said a lot of people will share similar or the same problem, what do you think is maybe besides that people believe that they're alone, that people are like disconnected from the society or community more specifically, what do you think is the biggest problem that your clients are facing or the current society is facing?
Well, I think my specific clients, like I communicate a lot on perfectionism and like a negative self-image. So that's also the things my clients tend to struggle with. And usually that perfectionism goes hand in hand with people pleasing. Actually, maybe like to connect it kind of to the topic we were talking about. I was talking with one of my clients today, and she's very introverted, but she also told me that when she is with people, it also costs her a lot of energy because she doesn't like to talk a lot. She likes to listen more, for example, but she pushes herself to do it. So it's like very tiring all the time. So when we constantly feel this pressure to be something that we're not, or like to try to be always nice, be always fun, even when we're feeling bad, that can cost a lot of energy. So maybe those are things that kind of push us more to isolate ourselves, because then maybe you can kind of be yourself and you can just be all the emotions you're not allowing to come out when you're with people. I'm not sure, like that's obviously, well, that's not a general problem because you have people that are very extroverted and love to be out. But I think the problem, like the problem that I was talking about, that all of us kind of experience, is on some level this belief, I'm not good the way I am. And that is what we're trying to solve in all kind of different ways. And that's what we build our identity around. I think that part, and the shame and the guilt and the sadness and everything we feel, that's very similar, just in slightly different ways. Kind of a really broad answer to your question.
It's great. And what you're saying particularly reminds me of something I learned maybe a decade ago. It says that all human beings shares the following two insecurities, which is that we believe that we're not good enough. And number two, that it's like acceptance, where we believe that we cannot be loved. It's like underlying within the core fear within all human beings. And actually, when I was like 18, 19, when I started watching a lot of YouTube videos, I got super into self-help. And I was like, I'm going to be a fucking coach one day. Life coach. And it's like almost like being a psychologist, but without a license. I was like, wow, that's the best career, because I will also be helping people. So I guess my questions to you is that, could I be a good coach without being jacked, being super fit?
Impossible. No, you have to be super jacked.
Okay.
No, yeah, damn. It's not going to work for you otherwise. No, you definitely don't need that. Depending on what kind of coach you want to be, but like,
it's life coach is too broad, right?
Yeah. Well, depends. I think what helped me, because I started out as calling myself a life coach, and I still describe myself as that sometimes. But what does that mean? Like, what's life? Like, yeah. But wait, I've completely forgot where we're going with this. What was your question again? Do you remember?
Yeah, I do remember. To reframe that, just from our interaction so far, besides being extremely handsome and funny as hell, and from your intuition, what type of coach or what type of coaching do you think that I'm good at?
That's a really good question. And that's a question that took me 4 years, if not longer, to figure out for myself. So to be able to do that in this short conversation we had would be impossible.
Try me.
I couldn't. I honestly couldn't, because I have to know more about you. So, for example, if you're like open to talk about this, like what for you is the biggest or toughest lesson you had to learn in your life?
Responsibility.
Regarding what?
Life in general, the actions. There's always consequences of the actions that you take. And for example, there's no way around that, okay, you could or a person could do something and they don't have to take the responsibility for that. I don't believe there's such thing. In the past, I always try to avoid those, and I was essentially being immature for a long time. Even my age was getting older, but I always like trying to run away from responsibility. And yeah, I know it's not exactly a story, but
what problems did that cause?
I would say that caused to that compared to where I see myself to be, that I didn't catch some of the opportunities to advance my career as much as I would like to be.
So you saw the potential, but you couldn't reach it. So what made you avoid the responsibility? Or act in a non-responsible way?
Fear, I didn't believe in myself.
So you know where that came from? That you stopped believing in yourself, or maybe you never did?
I got too comfortable at that time I was seeing somebody, my ex, and then we got super comfortable, and then I was afraid of taking risks because I was, in a way, quite, I think, a perfectionist, because I want to maintain this image in front of her or in front of other people on the social media, yada, yada, yada. And I think that was one reason. And also I didn't have a very good support system at the time, because I was nomading essentially. I go to a few places and meet some people a couple months, and then I had to leave. And I just moved to Spain. I felt out of place because I didn't speak much Spanish back then. And I felt, this is the thing, I felt alienated. Right, so.
Okay, so you I'm going to summarize it. Tell me where I'm wrong, if I'm wrong. So you saw this potential in yourself, but you kind of had to present yourself in a way so you were accepted in a certain environment, and you had a certain fear that if you would maybe take risk, you wouldn't fit anymore. Did I understand that right?
I was also afraid of, if I take the risk and if I lose, I didn't get what I wanted. Thinking too much on taking actions. Right? Because nowadays, now looking back, is that, what's the worst thing could happen? You just, maybe you lost all your money, then that's it, and you go find a job. You're always going to be okay. And also you can learn a lot from that too.
Yeah.
And also I think one thing is that because I used to live in Los Angeles, I did my startups there, more than one, actually 2 together with my friends. And then I have seen a lot for being such a young age.
Yeah.
And then when it came to Europe, I was like, oh, I'm beyond all of this. So which is, I was back to my youth age again, was being not humble. I was being oh, I'm beyond all of this. But versus when I wasn't being humble, I missed so much opportunity of learning and making genuine connections.
Yeah.
Right? Because I was too stuck in my own way, or how I believe that things should unfold. And I missed the opportunity that were the people that potentially were very likely could help with my business, or just being good friends of me in my life. And I miss a lot of that, I felt. But now looking back, it's all a part of the learning curve.
Yeah. So what do you feel helped you start taking that risk again? Is there a certain lesson was underneath it, or a certain realization that helped you?
Could you say the question in another way?
So you held yourself back from reaching your potential because you didn't take risks. And I feel you're now a person that does take more risk, and that is moving towards your potential. So what changed?
I would say progressed I know more of myself, or in a very simple way, I progress more spiritually, which means that I'm more in tune with myself, and I'm from reading books or listening to like audiobooks or something, I realize that just literally for business to grow, you must take risk. And I've studied so many people and realized that's also biography. That's what they have to do, right? Like Michael Jordan, like when he was. There's this story super dissect really quick and super funny. Like he tried out for the high school basketball team, and the first time he didn't make the cut. And then they have this story. People are like, "Who the f was like the teacher? They didn't like let Michael Jordan play on a high school team."
Yeah.
And then fast forward, when he played at NCAA, which is like the university championship game, and he made the final shot. And then he said, ever since that day, my life was different. But that's the thing. And maybe it's his quote or his fake Michael Jordan quote. It says, you miss 100% of shots that you don't take.
Yeah.
And life and business is actually like that. Like if you don't tell somebody how you're going to feel about them, they will never know.
Yeah.
Right. But when you're doing that, you're being vulnerable. You're putting yourself out there for maybe for yourself or for business. And
something interesting was in there. How did spirituality play a role in that? Because like I'm just trying to kind of understand like the lessons that you learned in your life and the struggles you had, because I think that's often where your power lies to help people. And spirituality seemed to play an important role in that for you. So there might be something. So like in what way did that play a role?
I would say that like I found out a lot like role models essentially were just like through also most importantly through spirituality I made a lot more friends that also working on themselves that are making a very positive influence in my life.
So it helped you to feel less alienated. Like
alienated, absolutely. And then these people are like more vulnerable, and then they're like reading, but also at the same time, like they are not perfect neither. And I think spirituality is not only that I understand myself more within, but also on the outside world when I'm making friends, when I'm doing the work. That's in a way I take myself a little bit less seriously. I'm taking this like give it a little bit more space. But also at the same time it's some kind of discipline, right? Like meditate, for example, nowadays for a long time I meditate in the morning and both in the night every single day. And I go to yoga, practice yoga regularly, I do sports regularly, and these things is like little by little, like more days of the year, one more time of my day are dedicating towards, yes, of course for myself, but also like wanting to earlier making a joke that wanting to have this connection with the universe or with something that's higher, that is unnameable. And
interesting. There's a lot in here. Like I cannot hand it on a platter to you, but something I see that seems to be important that I think you could maybe help people with, and don't take this as the final answer because there's none actually, but helping people feeling less alienated, because I think that's a big struggle with you that you understand really well, especially also with like coming from China and coming into this culture and with not really speaking the language that you told me about. And that's probably something people recognize themselves in and that you can understand in them. Like, I don't know what type of coach you would call that, but I think there's a lot of people that probably feel that way.
I should be thinking this for a long time, at least maybe 5 years of like, people talk about culture shock or people talk about learning a language, but there is no one language school that before you go abroad or while you're abroad, they teach you like number one, a little bit more lower level, like they never teach you, yes, you learn language, but or maybe sometimes a little bit about culture, but they never teach you like how to make friends there, like in that place. Also number two, that nobody talks about how, for example, before I moved to America, nobody say anything about what's it gonna be like psychologically that you're in a foreign country, and that was so fucking tough for me.
Yeah.
Right, like literally, like you don't see your parents for an entire year, or maybe even longer. There are times that I didn't see my grandparents for like 3.5 years.
Must be tough.
Yeah. It's it breaks my heart when you see the people you care so much, and you haven't seen them for a while, and then you see them, they're actually getting older, and that's and then for sure that's taking on a toll on every single international student who they are living abroad for a long time.
Did you feel like in that position that there was someone that understood you, that could help guide you?
I have friends. No, I don't. Maybe I should. I guess it's something I would need to take a little more time to reflect. But I have friends that also studying abroad. But this is also the thing, right? It's like each of us, our story is unique, and even somebody is from China or not, right? Like for example, my friends their family is Indian, and now they from India, and now they're citizen of now her parents live in Dubai, right? And she lives over here. She's living in New York and all that stuff, right? And we talk about being far away from home, from family, but each of our stories is so unique.
Yeah, true.
As well. So yes, in a way, we could share that with other people and with our friends, even the friends who live abroad. But perhaps like the only person who can get truly understand you 100% or close to 100%, I guess it will have to be yourself.
Yeah. I don't think we'll ever come close to even 5% of understanding ourselves, but I get what you mean.
Yeah.
But the reason I asked you the question is because I'm wondering, like, if you in that position had someone that had gone through the same thing as you, like a coach, for example, would you have, if you were confronted with that at that point, that you saw that somewhere, an ad or whatever, or their social media, would you at that point be like,
I would say so, because that was exactly earlier, like I was mentioning that that when I was like 18, 19, that's why I spent so much time on watching YouTube, because my friends are obviously they're nice. I was partying, I was hanging over at night. So I'm watching on YouTube to enjoy some time. But that's when I developed or find out about self-development. And then I was like, dive into that. I bought the program right away. I was looking for events to go to. I bought all these books, started reading them. And I would say so, certainly. Because I think growth, wanting for spiritual growth, emotional growth, physical growth, it's this curiosity. It's nature. It's like human nature, and it's nature of everything, right? Like earlier, planting the seeds is growth. It's in our nature, in our literally DNA.
And I'm guessing if you at that point, the way you felt, would have seen an ad of someone, or like whatever, where you come across it, of someone that gone through the same thing, that understands you, that offers you some guidance, and you would have taken it. There are probably also other people that would take it. So maybe there you have your answer. Study abroad, loneliness coach. Yeah, but like it's not about like having to put a name on it. Like it's hard to do it's just there are people that need a certain guidance, and you don't have like this let's alienation coach. Like no longer feel alienated. But like when you tell your story, people recognize it and they see where you came from and where you're going, and they see themselves in the same situation as where you started, and they want to see themselves in the situation where you're going. I think that's the best area to help people on, because you already did it and you understand it and you understand them. Just that there, well, number one, appreciate your feedback. It's like amazing, like few questions, boom, 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 and then we're getting more focus, and can tell you're good at coaching or something. Yeah, exactly. Reminds me of the book
Steve Jobs biography, these people are asking, oh, like, when you guys doing your product, do you do market research? And Steve was like, no, I don't do it. And he had this saying that it's to create the product or the service that people didn't even aware that they would need it.
Yeah.
And which was like literally iPod, iPhone.
Henry Ford also had like a quote about like if you ask people what they want, they'd say a faster horse.
I was literally about to say that quote after. Like, because in the book he mentioned that quote when in the paragraph when they're talking about like, do you do market research?
Yeah.
So
I think it's still valuable to understand what people are like struggling with, what pain points are, because like I can't even think of an example. Like if I make a glass that's like super big or something, when nobody wants a big glass, like it doesn't. I'm not sure why I use this example. Like you kind of need to know what people are running into. They might have no clue what the solution is, but like maybe people were like, yeah, and it kind of sucks that I need to like when I want to go visit my friend, I need to be on a horse or like in the what's the thing behind the horse called? I have no clue. But for like days, well, probably wouldn't even realize
saddle
that.
Or
like their cart or something. But probably they wouldn't even realize that was slow because they don't know it any other way.
Wagon.
The wagon, yeah, for example. But now thinking about it, it's probably not right what I'm saying. But it's interesting, yeah.
I have no idea what you're saying.
Yeah, I get that. I was kind of thinking out loud. Like I was saying, maybe people before cars were invented, they already struggled with the idea that they had to like when they wanted to meet their friend, had to like ride a horse for 3 days. So maybe there was a pain point, but they were not aware at all of a solution. But as I was talking, I was realizing that maybe they didn't even know they had a problem because they never seen it any other way. So just ignore everything I said. Where did you want to go to with that quote? Like, did you have a direction where you want to go?
That maybe you or some other entrepreneurs out there that when they're wanting to putting their product or service out there, that they're second guessing that. Is this really valuable? Like, does people really need this? But I think obviously we should not have this disconnection between the product or service with the reality or with the world, like you said, or people's needs. But there must be people who try and innovate. I was reading this book, Ralph Emerson, he was saying that like all innovators, people take great risks, are usually, or most of the time, misunderstood, or at least at the beginning.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're challenging the status quo. They are bringing some new idea and creativity in the world.
Yeah.
And so let's say if now is the end of the world, unfortunately, anything and everything that you have putting out there on the internet, all those contents are gone. And you have this tiny, tiny piece of paper. It's like literally this big. And you can write down like one sentence or a few words, the message you want to give it to the last humans. What would that be?
Wow, that's a difficult question. I don't get to give them any other context, just the words. Wait, if the world is ending, to who am I giving it?
Just
the people that are about to die. like some people are sent into space and I can send them one message that will survive.
Yeah, something like that. Like what wisdom would you leave for the next generation or the last of us?
Maybe like do it together. Yeah.
Do what together?
I only get a few words, so you're gonna have to, like, you're not a people, you're gonna have to make sense of what I said.
Okay.
What do you think it would mean?
Community, don't do alone. What the opposite of do together is like don't do alone, which is seek the community, seek support, care, love, support each other.
Yeah.
Is that what you're?
Yeah. So I guess those were good words.
Okay.
But then again, you had a lot more context also about me, so because of the whole conversation before.
Totally,
but yeah.
Totally.
What would your words be? When you ask me difficult questions, you're getting difficult questions back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this it wouldn't be a necessarily easy way out, but I'll borrow something from Lao Tzu, which is, again, the gentleman 2,600 years ago wrote the Tao. He said, I only have 3 things to teach, which I'm going to write these 3 words on the piece of paper. It's simplicity, patience, and compassion.
Okay. I'm like trying to think if I read that.
And then I also said, like, subscribe to my YouTube channel, but there's no internet, all the content are gone, so.
Yeah. Okay, those are, yeah. But you kind of cheated because you didn't read your words. Kind of curious about your words.
My words? Look deep into each other's eyes and appreciate.
I like that. That's a good one.
Have you done those exercises that you sit across from a partner of this practice or anybody that you look each other's eyes? And I mean, you blink, but besides the left or the right, and you don't look anywhere else.
I've done this in maybe the most uncomfortable way that was possible. I went to like a theater show and she was like, pick someone around you that you don't know. Look them in the eye for 1 minute.
Oh.
So yeah, it's weird.
Only 1 minute.
Yeah, I think it was a minute. It felt longer though.
Try 40.
40 minutes. You did that.
I think at least 35, but close. Well, because it was supposed to be 1 hour.
Was it in the yoga teacher thing?
Oh, that's a great idea. I should do that. It's from one of the meditation retreats or some books I read. I honestly don't remember, but I did that with at least 2 people. It's like 35 minutes above at least.
So if you could give people 1 sentence, that's what you would give them. So it must have had like it must have done something really deep for you.
Yeah, because I realized I've never done that in my entire life.
What did it bring you doing it? Are you doing it now? Or are you thinking?
A little bit both to like bring myself back to that moment.
Yeah. You're also trying not to smile.
Yeah, well, I mean, yes.
It's uncomfortable. You kind of want to break the tension.
Because it was supposed to, like, after this uncomfortableness, like, or the mental chatter falls away, that the peace or the acknowledgement of the soul that's rising up. And we're just sometimes curious, like, what color are those eyes? You know?
What do you think would happen if everybody would do that? Everybody would listen to the sentence you wrote.
I think there will be no wars in human history ever. Or at least I hope.
Because people would understand each other or see each other more.
Yeah, truly. And there will be feel less alienated and be more connected, like literally. And
no wars on Mars.
hopefully, I think. Do you believe that humans are bound and wired for self-destruction?
I think it's hard to say no because we've gotten to a point where we can destruct ourselves with one push of a button. So I think the only proof I have would be that we are, or at least we got ourselves to a point where we are. Is it like the only way? Probably not. Well, we're not there yet, so we can still change course. Yeah, it's a good question, which I don't have the answer to. I guess I'm, at this point, more concerned about what AI would do to us than about what humans do to us. But then we kind of created that also, so then we would also destruct ourselves in a way. I don't know. Time will tell.
There's this quote that every technology is, at the beginning, when it's first invented, it's indistinguishable from magic.
Yeah. Well, it still is. Like even like a phone or TV, to me it's magic. Like I saw a post from this. I'm sorry I'm interrupting you, but I saw a post about this. It was this guy who's like, we started with rocks, and now we have like phones that like through the air like connect with each other, and there's an image on there. Like it still is magic to me.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Like I have no idea. I mean, know few things, but I have no idea. Like if you give me all the raw material, I wouldn't know how to make a phone. Period.
No, neither. Not even close.
Yeah.
I think no one does because everybody knows a piece of the puzzle. Maybe someone does, but like probably most people don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so
actually
work together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When you are saying that, it just something just connected in my mind that perhaps the reason that humans are bound, not only humanity in general, perhaps individually, that we're bound for self-destruction, where everybody have a lot of self-destructive habits or pattern, is that because we're meant to grow like trees or plants, that when we get too comfortable, then we subconsciously starting to self-destruct because of that the energy wants to grow and wants to let out. Like literally like our hair, right? Is this always growing. So we're always growing. And still, maybe that's like a little bit aging is a weird concept but it's like that's just life is. You're just growing, and then you want to grow and channel that energy. Always, even that obviously there's time for you to chill, read books, watch some movies or listen to music, but I think when we stop growing, and not working on ourselves daily, and then that's when we get caught up by being running on autopilot with the self-destructive patterns, perhaps.
Yeah. And also, I forgot the word for it, but like chaos in the universe keeps increasing. Like from the Big Bang to now, over time, it keeps increasing. So I'm not sure what that has to do with it, but it sounds like it might. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm really not sure. I hope we don't destruct ourselves when we can build on something. But we might.
What would you wish your legacy to be? Besides telling people to work together.
I don't think I'm really worried with that. I don't worried about that. I'm not gonna be here like after anyway, so yeah, I don't want that to be anything. I just, when I'm here, I want to help and make sure that what I do at the bottom of the line is like me being here has a positive impact. And then after, I don't care anymore because I'm not here anymore anyways.
Yeah.
So I never thought of that actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel such a quite American concept, a little bit of like,
The legacy thing.
yeah, do something, change the world,
Yeah.
which is cool, fantastic. And
I wouldn't say that actually, that it's an American concept the way I look at it.
okay.
It's not even that I want to like change the world. I'm just talking about my life having a net positive. That can be in little ways, if that makes sense. I feel like the American way is like really big, like you have to like change everything. I think it's like that doesn't help usually when you want to like do a really big thing. I think like smaller, like focusing on the small ways in which you can contribute are often more valuable, I think.
Yeah, because one thing is that usually the best things in life are usually free, really, like love, air, smile,
Yeah.
plants.
Like even if you would go your whole life just walking down the street smiling at people, you'd have probably a positive impact on the world. So that's not worth more or less than someone that, like, I don't know, makes a really big business, like for example Steve Jobs. Yeah.
I think there's something like I'm reflecting, I'm discovering more on myself because, this too biography of like, or maybe perhaps I've been sold to the American dream, but I'm wondering why even since I was young, I always knew that I'm going to do something different. And yeah.
Have you figured out what that is?
Probably because I fucking hated school.
No, what I mean, like what the thing you're going to do different is.
I would like to buy YouTube one day.
Why?
It's just, it's actually quite close. I mean, because Elon, he did businesses and he actually lived quite close or not that far from where I used to live in LA. And if he could buy Twitter, then in theory that I could also buy YouTube, because I think YouTube is a great platform that Google is running it pretty well, but I think it could be a little bit better, but obviously I'm speaking just from kind of purely a feeling, like an idea. I don't understand deeply the algorithm, but yeah, I'm a little bit skeptical about the algorithm pushing the content to you and what kind of content it pushes to you. And on YouTube, it's cancellation or policy of like maybe you upload certain kind of content and it's cancel you, or nobody sees those kind of content even they don't cancel you. And also number 3, just maybe now this is like the best podcast in Barcelona or one of the best. Then the best podcast in or the best, or I don't know, like just use for the for the conversation understanding.
Mm-hmm.
The best podcast in Catalonia, best podcast in Spain.
I think it also doesn't work if you don't think it's like, if that's not a goal that you want to make it the best.
I mean, if I'm doing it
probably helps.
Like Michael Jordan is like, if I don't aim to be the best, then I'm wasting my time and I'm wasting my guest's time. And there's no way I would like that happen.
Actually, when I said that, I realized that was also my perfectionism speaking, so I probably wouldn't have said that if I thought about it more. But sorry, continue.
And yeah, that's true. And then best podcast in Spain, Europe, and then the world. Because I feel, again, maybe I acknowledge my ego that I feel people should watch my content, probably get a little bit more benefits than Mr. Beast's content or Cristiano Ronaldo. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, their content is entertaining. It's definitely, people love it. But I mean, there's so much more in life than entertainment, and this is entertaining.
Yeah.
Talking about orgies and shit. So.
I think also the beautiful thing is that Mr. Beast's content might help one person more than your content does, and another person your content helps more, because maybe Mr. Beast's content gives someone the joy in their life that they're missing. I'm not saying that that's a good solution, but it can help someone get through a certain period. So maybe if they're listening to your podcast, it wouldn't help them at all because they're not there yet, or like they're not at a level at which they can understand it. And I'm not saying that's like lower or higher level because I don't know, but so I think that's the beauty in it. Like you don't have to be the best, but you have to be the best for some people. There's that.
Definitely. Or just now reflecting a little bit more about like being the owner of YouTube and, you know, being the biggest podcaster or YouTuber ever, who ever lived.
Why is that important to you?
Exactly.
That's what you're reflecting on.
Yeah, my point being is that when I dig deeper than that, is that I want nothing but to truly shine and being who I'm meant to be, or to explore on the path of finding out that what is my unique gift that only I could bring to the world. And this is what I believe, that every single one of us has a unique gift that only you could bring to the world or the universe that nobody else can.
Yeah.
And I'm curious and I want to really discover that. I want to live that.
So it's not even about being the best, it's about being real.
Yeah, being true to myself, true to the universe, and true to other people. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
And perhaps one part of being the best is that having huge following, so that the people get on this platform, what they believe, what they have to share is really landing in the heart of other people. That they can really like listen and really like take away from it. And I think.
So it's not about being the best as in the end point, but in being better so you can reach more people.
Yeah, absolutely. And this quote I heard a long time ago. For the longest time, didn't understand. It's like the path is the destination.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you focus on the ending, you miss out on everything.
And I used to be always like that, and
so no saying you're going to be the best anymore. You're going to be better every day. So you can be the most yourself, the most authentic self.
Yeah.
That's just the fear talking that wants to be the best.
Yes, absolutely. Fear and insecurities.
I recognize it because I was there once. Still sometimes I am. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time. It's like amazing, this conversation. So.
Well, I really enjoyed it, so I was happy to be here.
Totally. Where can people find you on social media?
Well, I have almost every social media channel, and my name is Sanne Van Gurp. So I said even my name wrong, my own name, because I was talking English, but you write it as SANNE VANGURP.
How did you say your name wrong? I pronounced
my last name not the way I'm supposed to pronounce it.
Okay.
I did it kind of in English.
Okay.
It's okay.
Do you coach only in Dutch or English or both?
So far only Dutch.
Okay.
But, yeah, maybe.
I wish I speak Dutch, then I just like tapped into your network.
Yeah. Maybe I'm gonna like be more open to English in the future.
Yeah. I was telling Michelle that she wants to expand.
Yeah.
And I mean, the Dutch clientele, it's loaded, so I mean that makes perfect sense. And also it's from the business wise always seemingly pretty good to kind of get into niche and own that niche, and then you
for sure.
Awesome.
In the future.
Totally, you're on the path, and just on behalf of the universe, thank you for your positivity, all the great work that you're doing, and
I do it with a lot of love. So
thank you for being an agent of love.
You're welcome. That was it. How long did we talk?